Middle-earth, home to many diverse races, from wizards to hobbits, goblins to dwarves, orcs to elves. Many stories have been created and developed in the world of Tolkien. To delve into the world, you can start here with Dagora TV. A descendant of the first ancient kings of Númenor, and a descendant of Elros Tar Miniator, Aragorn's birth promised to bring great promise to all four corners of Middle-earth. His right to the throne of Gondor and Arnor was much more liable than anyone else in Middle-earth, as he is the heir of Isildur and also a descendant of Anarion, whom was Elendil's youngest son. Aragorn's childhood began quite grim for himself, as his father was killed by a squabbling pack of orcs when he was at a young age of 2, with his mother being unable to take care of him with the death of her husband. She departed him at the last homely house in the west, at Rivendell. This is where he was fostered by Lord Elrond and grew up in the elven way of life. As a request by Aragorn's mother, his identity was hidden from him and the outside world within, in fear that he would be killed like his grandfather and father, so that the lineage would be protected and Isildur's heir could prolong. Therefore, Aragorn was renamed Estelle. Estelle did not learn of his true heritage until his 20th name day, when Elrond taught him of his family and gave him his family gifts. These gifts include the Ring of Barahir, which was a ring described as 2 serpents with eyes made up of green jewels. The Shards of Narsil was also given to Aragorn. This is the sword that was broken when Isildur cut the wrong ring from Sauron's hand. However, Elrond did not give Aragorn the Scepter of Illuminars, which is a scroll that is passed down through all descendants of Númenor. Elrond said that he would gift Aragorn the scepter when he came to the right of the throne of both Gondor and Arnor. It was around his 20th name day when Aragorn met Elrond's daughter, Arwen. She was an elf that came from human descent and so was able to decide between a mortal and immortal life. She had just returned from visiting her grandmother, Lady Galadriel, in the enchanting forests of Lorien. After learning fully of his heritage to the throne of Gondor, the Dúnedain Ranger Aragorn assumed his correct role of the 16th chieftain of the Dúnedain Rangers in the north. He left the peaceful comforts of Rivendell to live with the remainder of his people in the north. When Aragorn arrived, he learnt the Northern Kingdom was left in scatters through regional and civil wars over the past 5 centuries. But it is said Aragorn was able to regain both strength and hope to the Rangers, but was unable to fully revive the kingdom. After 5 years amongst his people, Aragorn met the wandering wizard going by the name of Gandalf the Grey. After spending a lot of time with Gandalf whilst he was visiting the north, Gandalf asked a favour of Aragorn. Gandalf asked him if he and his rangers would guard a small area of land just west of Bree known as the Shire, which was a green, heavenly place which was fully inhabited by an ever-peaceful folk named hobbits. Aragorn agreed because he developed a great trust of Gandalf. Over the time that Aragorn was around the Shire, he was nicknamed Strider by the people that met him in the Bree lands. Over the next 23 years, Aragorn left the Dúnedain and carried out great journeys across Middle-earth, serving in the armies of King Thenghal of Rohan and Stuart Echelion II of Gondor. Many of his tasks were to raise morale in the west due to an ever-growing threat of Sauron and his allies. The experience that Aragorn through his time cannot be underestimated, as experience he gained was priceless and became extremely valuable in the War of the Ring. Aragorn's first notable task was in the armies of Gondor, where he led an army of squadron of ships to a long-standing rebel province in Umbar in the east. His tactics seemed to work perfectly, as they removed the rebel threat to near completion, as many of the ships were destroyed, and Aragorn personally killed the rebel leader. After the battle, Aragorn left the field to much of the dismay of his men, and he decided to travel east, where not too much was noted about his activities. Aragorn travelled back to Middle-earth in his late 40s and went to the forest of Lorien to meet Lady Galadriel. This was the location where he met Lord Elrond's daughter Arwen again. He gave Arwen the sigil of his family, the Ring of Barahir, and Arwen promised her hand in marriage on the hill of Serin, Amaroth, in the heart of Lorien, and Arwen pledged to him that she will lead a mortal life. Lord Elrond was not impressed when he heard that Arwen was betrothed to Aragorn, and would not give permission to the marriage until he was the king of both Gondor and Arnor. Aragorn was travelling peacefully through the lands of Middle-earth in places like the sharp rocks of Rhûn and the deep mines of Moria, and when Aragorn was 78, Aragorn learned of the events that had taken place in the Shire. Aragorn and Gandalf were both suspicious of this magical ring, and evidence led to them to suggest that this was the Ron ring. For Gandalf to know, he needed to find the creature Gollum, so that Gandalf could question him. Aragorn caught Gollum personally in the Dead Marshes, or Dagorlad, and took him to the halls of Thranduil, where Gandalf could question him. Gandalf learnt this was the One Ring, and told Aragorn the situation. After a few years, Aragorn was instructed to meet Bilbo Baggins' heir, Frodo Baggins, in the Prancing Pony at Bree, as they were delivering the One Ring to Rivendell. Aragorn found 4 hobbits and insisted on guarding them from the danger that lies ahead. The hobbits were suspicious of Aragorn, but their suspicions were removed when they were saved from the Nazgul in both the village of Bree, and when 5 of them were fought off, and Weathertop and the ring-bearer Frodo Baggins was stabbed by a Morgul blade. Luckily, they were able to take the hobbits to Rivendell, and Frodo was able to be healed. At the Council of Elrond, Aragorn was 87 years of age and in the prime of his life. As he is from Numorian descent, this means he was gifted with extremely long life. After much consultation and discussion at the council, and the overall verdict was there will be a fellowship containing Aragorn son of Arathorn, Legolas of the Woodland Realm, Gimli son of Gloin, Boromir of Gondor, Gandalf the Grey, Samwise Gamgee, Peregrine Took, Meriadoc Brandybuck, and Frodo of the Shire. Under the lead of Gandalf the Grey, their mission was to destroy the One Ring in the fiery chasm of Mount Doom. Before Aragorn departed Rivendell, he reforged the swords of Narsil, or Isildur's broken sword, and renamed the blade Anduril. Aragorn accompanied the Fellowship as a participant all the way to the death of Gandalf at the bridge of Khazad-dûm, where he then assumed the role of Fellowship leader, and he had to carry out the impossible task of returning hope to the remainder of the Fellowship. The first place he took them was Lorien, so that he could gain hospitality. It was in the forest of Lorien where Aragorn received the title Elessar from Lady Galadriel, and he had the faith to proceed with the Fellowship. He took the Fellowship down the River Anduin to Amon Hen, where the Fellowship split as he sent Frodo and Sam to go themselves to destroy the ring. Merry and Pippin were captured and Boromir of Gondor was killed. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, later named the Three Hunters, went on the hunt of a pack of orcs that captured Merry and Pippin so they will be safe. The three met Eomer in the fields of Rohan and learnt that orcs in question had been killed, and after investigating the scene, it came to Aragorn's attention that the 2 hobbits had escaped into Fangorn Forest. Whilst the 3 hunters travelled in the forest, they found Gandalf had returned from life as Gandalf the White, and they had sworn themselves to him in this moment. Gandalf rode with the 3 to Edoras in Rohan, so that they could save the King Theoden from Saruman's grasp. So Gandalf saved him, and he instructed Aragorn to stay with the citizens of Rohan on their travels to Helm's Deep, as they felt this was the best place to defend themselves. In the Battle of the Hornburg, Aragorn was a crucial leader to Rohan and their allies as he brought faith to all troops and was vital in their dramatic victory. After the battle, a small group including Aragorn and Gandalf travelled to Isengard to seek a parley with the guilty Saruman. However, he and Grima Wormtongue refused and Saruman was banished from both the White Council and also the Council of Wizards. Gandalf learnt of Sauron's plans to destroy the White City of Minas Tirith, and Aragorn was instructed to find more allies, as Rohan and Gondor was not enough to remove Sauron's forces in Mordor. Therefore Aragorn travelled the Plains of Dead and summoned the dead men of Dunharrow, whom owed allegiance to the King of Gondor. They had been prophesied by Isildur and Melba, the seer that the dead would impay them. The dead men of Dunharrow agreed to repay their debt and sailed up the River Anduin to Minas Tirith, victory during the Battle of Pelennor Fields, and it was these allies that gained the success of the battle and drove Sauron's forces back to Mordor. Then, an alliance of Gondor and Rohan fought to the Black Gate in one last battle, and in this time it was where Frodo and Sam destroyed the Wrong Ring. When Aragorn returned to the city of Minas Tirith, he saved Faramir's life, and with him the steward, as the previous steward for Faramir's father, Lord Denethor, committed suicide in the previous battle, meant that Aragorn will take the role as the king. He took the role of the king after he healed the harmed at the battle. When he was crowned, he was the title of King Aragorn II Elessar, and the first High King of the reunited kingdom. He married Lady Arwen the night he was crowned in the White Tree in Minas Tirith, to the pleasure of his foster father, Lord Elrond. He ruled the kingdoms of Gondor and Arnor for another 120 years in the Fourth Age of Middle-earth. Throughout his reign, he established great communication links with the men, elves and dwarves, so the old alliances were reunited. In the year 120 of the Fourth Age, King Elessar knew that he was at the end, and said farewell to his son Eldaron and his daughters, and gave Eldarion his crown and scepter. Arwen remained by his side until his death in the house of Kingsin in the Silent Street. Now you have learned the tales of the first High King of the reunited kingdoms. Next you will learn about Lord Elrond and his time in the last homely oust in the West.